Everyone who has watched Cobra Kai knows that the series is full of incredible characters, from inspiring heroes to memorable villains. But among all of them, there's one who stood out in a completely negative way: Dimitri. What started as a simple sarcastic nerd soon turned into one of the most unbearable characters in the series, marked by arrogance, cowardice, and questionable writing decisions. Over 6 seasons, we've seen characters grow, face challenges, and become better versions of themselves. But Dimitri? He remained the same annoying and pretentious guy, only now with some karate skills he clearly didn't deserve. And the worst part? The script tried to force his importance in absurd ways, culminating in the unjustifiable victory over Hawk in a trial to decide who would go to the Sekai Taikai. So get ready, because in this video we're going to analyze how Dimitri became one of the most frustrating characters in Cobra Kai. From the very first episode of Cobra Kai, Dimitri already showed signs of being a character who would be hard to tolerate. He was that typical nerd who talked too much but did too little, always ready with a sarcastic remark, yet too afraid to face any challenge. At the start, he and Eli were inseparable. Both suffered bullying at school and seemed to be in the same boat. However, while Eli showed a desire to change and grow, Dimitri was completely comfortable in his bubble of mediocrity. He preferred to complain about the world rather than try to fit into it. When Miguel joined Cobra Kai and started gaining confidence, Dimitri quickly dismissed the idea of training. He had a completely negative view of anything that required effort or dedication. His first attempt at joining Johnny Lawrence's dojo was a disaster. Instead of taking training seriously, he just complained about the strict rules and the aggressiveness of the sensei. He thought he was smart for challenging Johnny, but only proved he had no backbone to face challenges. He quit Cobra Kai after the first scolding, proving he had no perseverance. He preferred to stay in his comfort zone, criticizing those who chose to change. Meanwhile, Eli took action and reinvented himself, becoming Hawk. But instead of supporting his best friend in this transformation, Dimitri started mocking him, proving that, besides being a coward, he was also a terrible friend. While Miguel grew as a fighter and Hawk reinvented himself, Dimitri remained exactly the same. He didn't try to change, didn't want to evolve, and, worse, he looked down on those who dared to break out of the ordinary. This already made him a difficult character to like because he had no redeeming qualities. If Dimitri was already unbearable in Season 1 for being an arrogant and cowardly nerd, in Seasons 2 and 3, he somehow manages to get even worse. Not only does he refuse to change, but he actively sabotages those who decide to grow, especially his former best friend, Hawk. After seeing Miguel and Hawk gain confidence and become skilled fighters, Dimitri decided to give Cobra Kai a try. However, unlike Miguel, who endured intense training under Johnny Lawrence, Dimitri was unlucky enough to show up at the dojo when Kreese was there alone. Instead of showing determination, Dimitri started asking for soft rules during training, proving that he had absolutely no mentality to become a real fighter. Kreese, with no patience for his attitude, simply let him talk, until, seconds later, Dimitri walked out of the dojo with a bloody nose, clearly having taken a quick hit from the sensei. This failure at Cobra Kai led Dimitri to join Miyagi-Do, where he finally started training for real. But even in Miyagi-Do, his personality didn't improve as much as it should have. Even after Hawk had completely changed his personality and adopted a more aggressive attitude, his relationship with Dimitri still existed to some extent. In some scenes, it was clear that Hawk still had some respect for Dimitri, despite growing apart from him. This suggested that their friendship could have been repaired if Dimitri had handled the situation differently. But instead of that, Dimitri completely destroyed any chance of reconciliation by publicly humiliating Hawk. At a party, Dimitri could have just enjoyed the night and tried to socialize without causing any problems. But instead, he decided to expose Hawk in the worst possible way in front of everyone. After that, there was no going back. Hawk became a true enemy to Dimitri and made it his mission to get revenge. After being publicly humiliated by Dimitri, Hawk went into full revenge mode and started tormenting him in every way possible. Confronted him physically at the mall, where Dimitri ran away and hid behind the Miyagi-Do students, further reinforcing his cowardly image. But the peak of their rivalry happened at the amusement park, where Hawk finally got his brutal revenge. He broke Demetri's arm. This could have been a turning point for Dimitri. It could have been the wake wake-up call he needed to mature and realize that he had played a role in escalating their rivalry. But instead, he remained just as sarcastic and annoying, never acknowledging his own contribution to the situation. By season 4, Dimitri has become much stronger in karate and even manages to win a few fights. Unlike characters like Miguel and Hawk, who went through real, deep transformations, Dimitri remains basically the same. He's a better fighter, but emotionally, he still has the same childish and irritating behavior. One of the most forced moments in the script was Dimitri and Hawk's reconciliation. After everything that happened, the bullying, the betrayals, the school fight, the broken arm, the show just decides that they'll go back to being best friends without much effort, and their relationship is restored way too quickly, with no major redemption moment for either of them. It feels like he just wanted his friend back for convenience rather than actually forgiving Hawk. At the All-Valley tournament, Dimitri gets a few wins, but nothing too significant. He's clearly not one of the top fighters, yet he still acts like he's the smartest person on the mat. His most notable fight was against Robbie, where, as always, he tries to rely on strategy instead of strength. His participation in the tournament wasn't bad, but it also didn't add anything memorable to the series. By season 5, Dimitri becomes even more disposable. While the other characters have key moments in the fight against Terry Silver and Cobra Kai, Dimitri is just there. He doesn't have any relevant arc, no big fight, no essential role in the story. His only function is to be the smart guy of the group, helping to hack phones and drones. It feels like the writers didn't know what to do with him anymore but still insisted on keeping him in the show. If Dimitri was already a tough character to tolerate by season 5, season 6 somehow managed to make him even worse. Instead of maturing or finding a real purpose in the story, he becomes even more arrogant, annoying, and useless. One of the most absurd moments in season 6 was when Dimitri beat Hawk in the match to decide who would represent Miyagi-Do at the Sekai Taikai. Yes, the same Hawk who was the All-Valley champion in season 4, fought and defeated some of the best Cobra Kai fighters, had one of the biggest redemption arcs in the entire series. And who defeats him? Dimitri, a mediocre karate fighter with no major achievements and no real history of growth. This was one of the most forced moments in the script and made many fans question the show's credibility. It was a desperate attempt to make Dimitri relevant, but it felt completely artificial. It made Hawk look weak for no reason, just so Dimitri could have his moment in the spotlight. Another unbearable aspect of Dimitri in season 6 was his obsession with getting into MIT. Not only did he bring it up constantly, but he also kept nagging Hawk about it. He acted as if Hawk had to follow the same path as him. His attitude felt more selfish than genuinely caring. The most irritating part is that he had already forgiven Hawk for everything that happened in the past, yet now he was acting as if he still held a grudge, proving that he never truly moved on from what Hawk did to him in seasons 2 and 3. This makes their friendship feel toxic and forced. Instead of a real bond, it seems like Dimitri is only there to remind Hawk of his past mistakes and make his present choices harder. The writer's insistence on keeping Dimitri relevant only hurt the narrative, making him an increasingly frustrating character to watch. After all this forced build-up to put Dimitri in the Sekai Taikai, he ended up doing absolutely nothing relevant in the tournament. If the writers wanted to make him important, they failed miserably. In the end, his participation in the tournament just reinforced the fact that he never should have beaten Hawk in the first place. Season 6 should have been Demetri's chance to finally grow and become a more interesting character. Instead, he reached peak insufferability. Demetri's biggest flaw as a character is his lack of convincing development. He should have gone through a real transformation throughout the series, just like Miguel, Hawk, and even Johnny Lawrence. Unlike Hawk, who had a well-executed redemption arc, Dimitri remained the same annoying nerd from start to finish, the only difference being that he now knew how to fight, and even that felt completely undeserved. If there's one positive aspect of Demetri's journey, it's his relationship with Yasmin, one of the school's popular girls. Their relationship started unexpectedly and was one of the few things that actually brought something fresh to his character. It was interesting to see how someone like him managed to win over a girl who used to make fun of him. This dynamic helped make Dimitri slightly less irritating, as Yasmin balanced out his nerdy and sarcastic personality. Now, if there's one scene where Dimitri actually managed to be funny, it was in the final episode of Season 6 during the big fight between Johnny Lawrence and Sensei Wolf. While the fight was happening, Dimitri and Yasmin were so caught up in their flirting that they didn't even notice the epic battle unfolding right in front of them. The scene was one of those over-the-top comedic moments in the series, where the couple was so distracted that they barely acknowledged the chaos around them. It was an unexpected but effective joke, one of the very few times Dimitri was genuinely funny without being annoying. Dimitri had potential to be an interesting character. He could have been the nerd who learned to stand up for himself, found confidence in a genuine way, and matured throughout the series. But instead, the writers insisted on keeping him unbearable until the very end, making his journey one of the weakest in Cobra Kai. And in the end, he will be remembered as one of the most annoying and unnecessary characters in Cobra Kai history. And that wraps up our deep dive into how Dimitri became one of the most insufferable characters in Cobra Kai. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to drop a like. It really helps the channel keep bringing more content like this. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new theories, fun facts, or deep dives into Cobra Kai and other amazing series. And don't go anywhere. On the final screen, there's another Cobra Kai video you can't miss. Click it and let's keep this conversation going. See you next time.